Matthew 6:1, he said, "Take heed that you do not your alms before men to be seen of them. Otherwise, you have no reward of your Father who is in heaven." Unquote. So on the one hand, you're told to make your good deeds known to all, while on the other, you're told to keep them under your hat if you want to reach heaven. In essence, we are faced with another example of conflicting advice that could generate a split personality. 35th. One of the more glaring conflicts in the teachings of Jesus comes to light when we compare Luke 16:9, which says, "Make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness," with Luke 16:13, which says, "You cannot serve God and mammon." Apologists have tried to resolve this inconsistency for centuries, and one man's theory is as useless as another's. If you cannot serve both God and mammon, if you must choose between the two, then it would be foolish to become mammon's friend, since that would exclude God. But it says, "Make yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness." 36. Another statement by Jesus that flies in the face of many biblical verses is found in Matthew 19:26, which says, quote, "With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." If something is impossible for men to do, then why on earth would Jesus have said in Mark 9:23, quote, "All things are possible to him that believeth"? Why did he say in John 14:14, "If you shall ask anything in my name, I will do it"? And why did he say in Matthew 17:20, "If you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, 'Remove to yonder place,' and it shall move, and nothing shall be impossible to you," unquote. Notice that the latter verse says nothing shall be impossible to those with faith. As a practical matter, the inaccuracy of this statement is shown in the fact that nobody, with or without faith, has ever successfully ordered a mountain to move. The mustard seed verse, in which nothing is impossible to those with faith, also clashes with Mark 9:29, which says, "This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting," unquote. In other words, according to the former, only belief is needed to do anything, but now it requires prayer and fasting. 37th. One of the most repulsive analogies by Jesus is exposed when Matthew 12:12, in which he says, "How much then is a man better than a sheep?" when that's compared with several other verses having an opposite meaning. Although Jesus allegedly looked upon mankind as having great importance, verses such as John 10:11, 10:15, 10:26, and 10:27 clearly show that he viewed his followers as sheep or lambs and himself as their shepherd. John 10:14 says, "I am the good shepherd and know my sheep." And John 10:15 says, "I lay down my life for my sheep." Unquote. Can you imagine belonging to a movement in which the founder and central figure looks upon you as a sheep? How demeaning, how degrading, how disgusting. 38th. Several verses show that Jesus often gave insolent replies, evaded questions, and failed to respond. Relevant verses in this regard are Matthew 27:11, which says, the governor asked him, he's of course talking to Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus says, "Thou sayest," unquote. John 18:34, in which Jesus says, "Do you say this thing of thyself, or did others tell it to you of me?" John 18:37, which says, Pilate said to him, "Are you the king then?" Jesus answered, You say that I am king. And John 19:9, which says, and said unto Jesus, somebody speaking to Jesus, from where are you? But Jesus gave no answer, unquote. Dialogues of this nature show that Jesus occasionally got what he deserved. If you're going to give insolent replies, then you can expect to receive an appropriate response. Jesus just as easily could have answered yes or no and avoided being evasive, rude, or a smart aleck. And why didn't he show some backbone by openly admitting that he claimed to be the Messiah? 39th. Another one of the wholly inconsistent comments by Jesus becomes clear when we compare John 3:35, John 13:3, and Matthew 28:18, all of which say, Jesus came and spoke to them, saying, all power is given to me in heaven and in earth. When we compare those verses with Matthew 20:23, in which Jesus says, to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, unquote. On the one hand, he has all power, while on the other, he doesn't even have enough power to tell people where to sit. He can move mountains, but he can't tell people where to repose. How silly. How childish. Situations like this are enough to make